Hi everybody, I'm Robby Duguay from the Game Brass. I'm a game composer based in Toronto, Canada, and I play the trumpet in our group. Last time on Game Brass Academy, we looked at the arrangement process. So today we're going to look at how we make videos. I've seen a lot of comments on our videos complimenting our edits. People will ask things like, how did you do that? Which I always want to interpret as, how did you make this music? But it's almost always actually, how did you edit that video? I would love to give a tutorial on the level of depth that Taryn from LTT gave about how he edits in Premiere, or that Tim Rogers from Action Button gave about Tokimeki Memorial. But I don't think you or I actually want to see that happen. If you do, hit us up in the comments below. I've got 6 hours. What I'd like to do today is answer a few high-level questions about our approach to making videos, and then give you a behind-the-scenes look at the editing paradigm in which we operate. I've decided to break this up into some rough sections, so feel free to jump to the timecode in the video description as it strikes your fancy. Let's start at the very beginning. Somebody has the idea for an arrangement. That'll get added to a spreadsheet somewhere, and then when it comes time to plan an album, a collab, a project, etc., somebody calls dibs on arranging that actual track. More often than not, this will end up being Thomas, but every member of the group has arranged at least one track for us at some point in the last 3 years, though I'll admit, not all of those have been released. The arranger's job is to then prepare sheet music and a backing track, which each of us will use to record remotely and asynchronously. The mixer then compiles all this together. This is when the actual video process begins. Once the track actually exists, each one of us performs it again. We play along to the final track in front of a green screen, sometimes while wearing a costume or keeping to a gimmick. All this gets added to a Dropbox, and then the video edit has begun. This is Adobe After Effects. I would say it's not that commonly used in the VGM cover scene for a couple of reasons. Firstly, the license for Adobe Creative Cloud can be prohibitively expensive. And second, if you've got Creative Cloud, you might be using Premiere Pro instead. I use it mostly out of familiarity because basically all of my professional video editing experience comes from working on game trailers, where a lot of compositing and motion graphics are just made simpler with After Effects. The short explanation of how AE is laid out is that you have a media bin here on the left, a timeline on the bottom, and a preview monitor in the top middle here. The order in the timeline matters because things that are higher up will layer on top of the things that are below it. You can pull a video into the media bin, add a new timeline, which in After Effects is called a composition, drag it around, add other layers of both video and audio, make cuts, export, and boom, you have a video edit. Seems like it'd be a lot of work to pull in every video and align the clips one by one, right? Yes it would. So earlier I told you that timelines in AU were called compositions. The cool thing here is that you can put a composition inside another composition, and it even preserves the transparency on that layer. This is called nesting compositions. Because what we do is similar from one video to the next, usually identical instrumentation, always an end card, placement of the logos, etc. It's a big time saver to set this up beforehand and save a template. We then use that as a starting point. So let's take a look. The cornerstone of the system is a composition called main song. This is always the first thing I open when I start a new edit. I drag the most recent mix into this composition, make sure I'm happy with where the time alignment starts, and then I can just close that composition and not worry about it anymore, unless I want to update the song later with a new mix. Another good example of where nesting composition saves us time is a small detail that you might not have ever noticed before: the borders. The template has one composition called border. If I change the color or add a graphic to this line, it propagates out into every shot with a border. Huge time saver. We have compositions pre-populated for each member of the band with a placeholder image, and then the main song composition is also inside each of those. It's also important to note that our main timeline already has the main song inside of it as well. At this point, without even actually having recorded video from anyone, we can actually start working on a rough edit. But let's come back to that in a second. Because each player has a comp already, we can just drag the video from each player into their raw comp and align their performance with the main song. In theory, this means that everyone's parts should be in sync for the whole track without any more aligning it back and forth in time. In the same way that we have the main song in every timeline, we've also got pre-made shots that reference the raw performer comps. This is because we're always going to have a 2-shot of the trumpets, or horn and trombone, or a 6-shot, or something we use every time. These shots are already set up in the template before I've ever even dragged it in the song. So let's take a look at how I will often do my first pass. Over here in the main timeline, I drag in a comp. Doesn't super matter which one it is, as long as it has the same resolution as the composition it's in. I like to look at the waveform here, and then sometimes for a treat I'll even drag in a click, but let's not be too indulgent for our demo today. The shortcut key in After Effects to split something on the timeline is Command-Shift-D. It's Control-Shift-D on PC. I'll then go through the whole piece, making cuts in time with where I think things should change. I like to imagine us performing on like a live TV shoot. You're just changing between camera 1 and camera 2, camera 3, back to camera 1, wide shot. My quick way of making this happen is to alt-drag a comp to replace another one on the timeline. This will preserve all of its properties, including time alignment, which is very important. So the first pass of an edit means either just using placeholder images or what has already been recorded to create almost like an animatic or a proof of concept. Mostly I'll follow the score and put up a prominent instrument so that it's being seen when it should also be heard or noticed. I don't worry about visual shot alignment or any green screen stuff at this point. Here's what that's looked like from some of my version 1 edits in the past. It's not much to look at, I admit it, but what this accomplishes though is the feeling of an edit. It quickly identifies what spots need attention. Should there be more cuts or fewer? Am I focusing on the wrong instrument? What about a cool gameplay shot or a gag? Removing the backgrounds is a little bit different for each of our videos, just because they're all in different rooms with different lights and different cameras and settings. This is something I just do from scratch on every new video. Once we have a clean key for everyone, the simplest thing I might try to do is put us over a screenshot or a video capture of the game. This ranges from really simple to kind of complicated, or really silly. There's a bit of black magic to this though, because part of the job is to hide the imperfections of our video recordings with forgiving backgrounds. And it goes both ways too. I'll often hide in-game characters or text behind the performer in the shot. I found that a good way to change the feeling of a video is to change someone's background. Go from a bright background to something darker in a softer part of the song. For videos like Freeze Easy Peak and Dragon Roost Island, playing the game and capturing these backgrounds was by far the most time-consuming part of the edit. It took forever. Then at some point in this process, I'll start using Lumetri to try and color match us. This is to either try and make us look more similar to one another and look like we're in the same space, or try to blend us in more with the backgrounds we're in front of. From this point on, the edit becomes a creative endeavor. Because the edit is just a series of timelines referencing other timelines, we can edit the look of any player, change their background, even change out the video to another take or another person, all while keeping the main timeline edit intact. The changes propagate to all the timelines which reference the original comp. At this point, I'll run an export. I'll show the band, we find mistakes and have terrible ideas, I head back into the edit, export, rinse, repeat. A lot of our videos that I've edited get exported 9 or 10 times. It's just that each edit gets a little bit closer to the goal. It's worth mentioning that sometimes we go completely off script from the system, and we make a video that's based on a little speck of an idea. Because there are so many ways to use After Effects and the tools, I'm here to tell you today that it's literally from Googling how to do blank in After Effects, and then continuing to build the house of cards. This is where After Effects really excels, because we can do some really wild compositing and effects to try to make each shot visually interesting. It's also fun to hide little references to games that people might find and appreciate. I was a bit hesitant to explain the system to you, because now that you've seen behind the curtain, it might seem less magical to see the next edit from the Game Brass. On the other hand, I thought it was more important to explain our process and give you a bit more insight into how we approach this. So I'm just working on the edit right now, and we were sort of talking and reviewing the script and the video late in the process, and Daniel brought up a really good point. Where I was worried about showing the template and kind of ruining the magic for everybody, he said, you know, using templates helps us to maintain a consistent look, and by not having to reinvent the wheel every time, it kind of frees us up to do more interesting stuff. So, you know, like the Asgore video or the Snowflakes video, we can do really cool shots, because the timing is so much easier to set up. I think I'll wrap things up for now, but if you want to hear more about a specific part of our workflow, please let us know in the comments below, and we can continue making more videos for Game Brass Academy. If you're interested in our arranging process, please don't miss our previous video in the series where Thomas gave a detailed look at his arrangement for Cool Cool Mountain from Mario 64. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Wow, I actually got through it.